Hello, this is my Who Am I as a Thinker Unit 1 concluding project. To begin, I will introduce two of my strongest beliefs. Number 1. Censorship is never justified, regardless of what is being said. Everyone is and should be entitled to a belief and should have the right to express this belief in public. Number 2. Factually accurate and credible journalism are crucial in the spreading of legitimate information. Now, where do these beliefs come from? Well, the answer is quite complex, so allow me to give some background. Science has always had a profound impact on my life and how I interpret information. Anything that can be scientifically proven I hold to be true, or if not entirely true, very likely in being so. How does this relate to what I believe in? Well, psychologists have scientifically proven that our beliefs have a lot to do with both our genetics and the environment we matured in. Therefore, I believe that my beliefs or perspectives on money, material things, politics and government, and censorship are what they are as a result of what I have come to encounter in the early years of life and adolescence and the way my parents are genetically. I also feel as though what I experience in the present day, after obviously having developed a strong idea for who I am as a thinker, further solidifies the beliefs I have towards certain things. For example, I am an avid consumer of news. Whether it be electronic or in paper, news has always been something I have been interested in. Because of my interest in news and my frequent consumption of it, I continue to educate myself on my own points of view. Now, I think it is important to address who has instructed me in skeptically but informatively educating myself about the world and current events through media. That is, Mr. Michael Constantini. After recently interviewing Mr. Constantini and extensively reflecting on my own, I truly realized how much he has impacted me as a thinker. He helped mold not only my outlook on life, but also how I interpret and understand information. As a result of the research that I conducted while I was his student, and in conjunction with his thought-provoking presentations, I have come to the conclusion that I now need to be skeptical with what is being told to me. Regardless of the form of media, facts that are reported must be taken with a quote-unquote grain of salt, as people may have ulterior motives and may want to sway my opinion in favor of theirs to help push a certain agenda. Moreover, interviewing him has also reinforced my perspective, as previously mentioned, on the credibility of Western mainstream media, on government interaction in the lives of the public, and censorship. Although there are things him and I do not agree on, specifically within the realm of materialism and greed, hearing his opinions has effectively allowed me to understand an opposing point of view of an idea I hold very dearly. Next, I will be discussing the topic of generalizations and why I try not to make any. I personally despise when others make generalizations, regardless of the situation. That being said, I personally also do not like making generalizations about absolutely anything. I believe that by generalizing, you wrongfully propagate possibly sociologically damning stereotypes that may plague certain groups. Also, generalizations are often made on a false consensus. What I mean by this is that when people try to find the correlation between two unrelated things, they often make an illusory one, or one that does not exist. This is because they tend to remember the times where they are right and forget the times where they are wrong. The times people are wrong, however, significantly outnumber the times they are right, therefore making their interpretation of a specific event or the causation of that event wrong. Now, with respect to the way in which I consume news, I have yet to try and defend my point of view. But when it comes to materialism, I have in fact fallen into fallacies or poor reasoning in defending my point of view. I often see myself as being very greedy, but not in a conventional way. I would like to be wealthy, not so I can buy a lot of things. I simply want to have money for the sake of having money. One thing I hate in life is not having control or having limitations, and I feel that by having very little financial limitations, I will in fact be happier and more level-headed. When I have tried to argue for the justification of my own greed, I fall into the trap of unintentionally contradicting myself. I find it quite difficult sometimes to validate my humble greed to myself even. However, to combat this, in my arguments, I still maintain that I will always remain humble if I were to accumulate wealth, and I also insist on donating a large portion or large portions of it to charitable organizations. On another note, I would like to talk about how I am as a person and whether or not I operate on a more emotional or rational basis. I would definitely consider myself as being more rational. I do not think emotions should govern our lives, as they can sometimes lead us to make erroneous decisions. Additionally, some of the downfalls to being a rational thinker are that you often forget your own emotional well-being. I know that I recently mentioned that I believe emotions should not govern our lives. However, I simultaneously believe that maintaining a healthy mind is crucial in thinking rationally. Now, how have I acted in situations or scenarios when a decision had to be made? Well, as I previously mentioned, I consider myself to be a very rational thinker. When making a decision, I always examine the situation from top to bottom. I also make sure that my decision that I make will in some way be potentially beneficial to me and all other parties involved, should there be any. I also tend to shy away from emotion due to my belief that emotions are sometimes, or oftentimes, irrational. Secondly, I'd also like to address how my current beliefs contribute to my family, friend group, and community norms, and whether or not I consider changing any of them. I feel that my perspective on certain things often allows other people to see quote-unquote the other side of the fence, regardless of whether or not they agree with me. Also, as a result of the way I think, I constantly find myself arguing with people, especially my parents and friend group. My parents, friend group, and I rarely see eye to eye. This conflict is sometimes cause for concern, but we work past our differences in order to maintain social stability. Also, I will not change a perspective of mine simply because it is unpopular. I have consciously decided to believe in a specific thing, and unless science or proper methods are instituted to irrefutably refute a point of view of mine, I will cease to consider changing my outlook. However, this is not to say that I will not listen should someone try and debate a certain belief of mine, and then proceed to sensibly speak their own opinion and back their opinions up with evidence. I think that rational disagreement is intrinsically important to civilized society. I also believe that my own beliefs are what make me, me. I'd like to conclude this by reflecting on what we have done thus far in philosophy and how I have learned about myself. As previously mentioned, I very much enjoy listening to the perspectives of others. I feel that listening and understanding other people's point of view can either change your perspective on something or further solidify your own. That being said, after watching the presentations about emotion, perception, language, reason, faith, and intuition, I've not only made an effort to reflect upon my own beliefs, but have also been able to come up with a plausible conclusion as to why I believe in the things that I do. The answer lies within the environment that I have grown up in, and also the ways of knowing that I have chosen to interpret information. These ways of knowing are reasoning, intuition, and faith. I have a tendency to believe whatever can be logically and scientifically proven. Because of this faith I have in proof supported by evidence, I try to translate the scientific method into how I think. What do I mean by this? Well, science attempts to prove the correlation between cause and effect relationships. Consequently, when met with an ultimatum, I like to weigh in on the causes and effects of the choices that I have at hand. And from there, I use my faith and intuition to make decisions that I think will benefit me in the future. Finally, I think that this project has helped develop me into a more mature thinker and has also allowed me to learn how to properly reflect upon my own beliefs and that of others. It has undoubtedly taught me very much about not only myself, but the world around me.